Hello again, and welcome back to my channel. I know that it's been a while since I posted. I did say I'm going to try and post at least once a week, but I've been very busy and I was waiting for my certificate of enrollment as an attorney. It did take some time. As I mentioned in the first video, I was admitted on the 2nd of June, but it took a very long time for me to get the certificate. Today being the 10th of August, and I only received the certificate last week on the 2nd of August. And here it is. Yay. So yes, I've been admitted as an attorney of the High Court, and today I want to take you through the admission process. What do you need, etc., or what I went through. So I started preparing for my admission as an attorney of the High Court the moment I secured my articles of clerkship. I kept a lookout for admission precedents on various social media platforms, including WhatsApp. I downloaded any material I came across that I believed would assist in ensuring that my papers were flawless. I also sourced precedents from our firm's database, and I exported some and I transferred them into my external hard drive. I also then looked at various Facebook pages and downloaded whatever it is that I could find. I then drafted my founding affidavit months prior to my admission. And interestingly, I spent many more days, weeks, months editing, reviewing, and amending the papers. I researched worst case scenarios about what could go wrong in relation to the admission and what could hinder or become an obstacle to my journey. Above everything else, I was also listed as the sole director of two companies, which I established in 2012 and 2021 respectively. One before I completed the LLB degree, and the other before I commenced my articles of clerkship. Both companies were dormant when I commenced my articles of clerkship and did not interfere with my time of service in any way. Therefore, in my application, I learned at a later stage, just before I applied for admission, that I have to seek an order that says that I was not in contravention of Rule 22.1.5.2 of the Legal Practice Council. So I did not apply to the LPC before commencing articles because I wasn't aware that I had to. It is something that I learned just before I actually applied for admission. And I disclosed it in my founding affidavit. By the beginning of March 2022, all my papers and annexures had been drafted and checked by my counsel. The counsel who moved my application is Advocate Thokozile Khatebe. And the following papers were prepared for issuing with my application. I did an index to the pleadings. I drafted the notice of motion, the founding affidavit, the confirmatory affidavit by the principal. I then attached to the founding affidavit the following annexures. It was my ID document, the marriage certificate, my matric certificate, the LLB degree certificate, my academic record from UNISA, the contract of articles that I signed, the LPC letter confirming the registration of my articles, the lead attendance report for PLT night school, and I also attached to the initial application the CIPC Biz Portal records that show that I'm a director in the two dormant companies. I also made provisions for annexing the LPC's attorney admission exams certificate. Then I also attached the affidavit in respect of original documents, which are signed by the principal. At the same time, my counsel also signed one. I also attached to the bundle the draft order in duplicate and the notice of set down. I'm a naturally pedantic person and a perfectionist, so I was obsessed about my application from day one. And my articles actually were for a period of 1 year because I'd already completed PLT night school and I'd already passed the board exams when I started my articles. So my articles started on the 1st of April 2021 and they finished on the 31st of March 2022. So on Friday morning of the 1st of April 2022, my principal signed my papers and they were commissioned accordingly. All the affidavits were commissioned, all the pages initialed, all my annexures were certified, and then I made 4 copies of the bundle and I ended up with 5 bundles. The first bundle was the original, and then I had 4 copies. I then proceeded to the South Gauteng High Court to issue the papers. And when I arrived at the court, it was a little after 9 a.m. I waited outside the admissions office. I was very anxious. No one came. Eventually, I went to the office next door, which is the office where you issue all of your matters. And they tried to get hold of the lady that does admissions. It turns out she wasn't at work, and she was only going to be back on Monday, the 4th of April. Needless to say, I was very disappointed, extremely disappointed, because what I had seen in the past is I'd seen that people apply for admission dates. I'd seen previous candidates at the firm who had applied in October and only got admitted in February the following year. So it was like 3-4 months before you get admitted. And I wanted to be admitted like yesterday. I mean, I'm old, I'm 42, and I felt that, look, I'm ready for this. Let's just, I started this, I have to finish it. Anyway, I got a case number, my matter was issued, and then I left. I returned to the admissions office again at the court on Monday, the 4th of April, with all the bundles. And you can imagine how excited I was when I arrived and found that the office was open and they could actually issue me with the dates. I was then given the dates of the 2nd of June. And I was actually hoping I'd get a date at the end of May, for personal reasons. But the 2nd of June was also good enough. And because it was around 10 o'clock when I got the date, I then went back to our law firm and I just carried on working. What I then did is I drafted a cover letter to the LPC regarding my application submission. I completed the enrollment form from the LPC, wherein you state whether you're going to be practicing, non-practicing, and if you're practicing, where are you going to be practicing? Are you going to be practicing for your own account or somebody else's account? And if you're working for another firm, what is the position you're going to be holding at that firm? I then also made a payment of the enrollment fee. I think it was 345, and I printed that proof of payment, and I attached these documents to the cover letter that I'd done because I needed something to take back with me after I had dropped off everything. I attached everything to the original bundle, and then the next day, which was Tuesday, the 5th of April, I then went to actually serve the application at the LPC because I was informed that you must serve the LPC before 12 noon. So it didn't make sense the previous day when I got the date at 10 in Joburg that I was still going to drive to Pretoria, and what if there's traffic, etc. I wanted to avoid all of that. So early morning on the 5th of April, I then went to the LPC and I served the application at the Pretoria offices. When I served the papers, all 5 bundles, including the original, were stamped by the LPC. They then retained the original bundle and 2 copies, and they gave me back 2 bundles. I was then informed by the attendant at LPC and also the registrar at the court had informed me that I must create the matter on case lines and upload the application, the supporting documents, and all future pleadings must be uploaded on case lines. And I must also ensure that all the relevant parties are invited, including the LPC and Johannesburg admissions. On my return to the office the same day, I then created the case on case lines and I invited all the parties, and including counsel, whom I had instructed to move my application. And once you've submitted your application, it has to lay with the LPC for a period of no less than 30 calendar days. And I literally then went and diarized 30 days on my calendar from the 5th of April to the 4th of May. And I'd learned from my extensive research that the LPC will revert sometime before the hearing date with any queries that are raised regarding your application. Obviously, I didn't want any queries on my application. I'd taken so much time to draft it, and I was hoping that it would just be perfect. And the waiting period for my submission to admission was the most anxious and stressful time of my life. Once again, I went through my papers a million and one times, trying to preempt what could go wrong. Well, brace yourself. The stress is quite a bit. But I lived, so if you like me, you will also live. One thing I did during my waiting period is just hope and pray that I'd not receive any queries. But as my luck would have it, on the 5th of May 2022, exactly 30 days after I'd served the LPC, I received an email from the LPC with 3 queries. I was disappointed, yet I was relieved at the same time because the queries raised were minor in comparison to the stories that I'd heard and what I'd seen from my previous research. One of the queries is that I had not clearly recorded the completion date of my articles of clerkship. So basically, I said I served for 1 year starting 1 April, but I did not say that they ended on the 31st of March. The other was that I'd made reference in my pleadings to the Attorneys Act, but did not mention that the Attorneys Act 53 of 1979 had been repealed. So I had to rewrite that whole paragraph and mention that it had been repealed. And the last correction was a query regarding a statement that I had made regarding holding or occupying any other office during my period of service, actually saying that um, this did not interfere. Even though I was in a director of these companies, that did not interfere with my service. The good thing as well is that the LPC only needed me to draft a supplementary affidavit, but my principal did not have to draft a supplementary. But my principal did not have to draft a supplementary confirmatory affidavit, and I could serve it electronically. So I received it on the 5th of May. The very next day, on the 6th of May, I served my supplementary affidavit electronically to the LPC, and immediately on the same day, like 30 minutes later, they sent me confirmation that they'd received all my documents, they were in order, and their letter of no objection to my application would be issued electronically and uploaded on case lines at least 3 working days prior to the hearing date, which in my case would then be the 30th of May, given that my hearing date was the 2nd of June. So again, you can imagine, I was super excited and in utter disbelief that, okay, all my papers are in order, they've accepted my submissions, and they were not objecting to me becoming admitted as an attorney after High Court. So yeah, one step towards the dream coming true. Now I had to wait. So I had to wait for the court date. So I uploaded all the documents on case lines, including the email from LPC where they raised the objections, my supplementary affidavit, and again the email from LPC confirming receipt and that they will not be objecting in the future. So during the period from 6 May to the 1st of June, my counsel and I continued to peruse the documents we had issued and served on the LPC and also uploaded on case lines. We checked for possible issues that may be raised by the court. Because remember, the court is not bound by the decision of the LPC. They still have to go through the papers and also make up their own minds about your admission. We also double checked the quality of the annexures that we uploaded. My marriage certificate was not clear. I had to go and make a clearer copy, get it recertified, and then upload it again. On Friday, 27 May, the LPC uploaded the letter of no objection as well as the certificate for the board exams showing that I passed all 4 board exams. I mean, it was such a huge relief because it was a Friday. I didn't have to go through the weekend wondering if that letter will be uploaded for sure on the 30th of May, because I'd also heard stories from people saying that they went through the whole process and come admission day, the LPC had not sent that letter. So I was very excited. My weekend was super fantastic that weekend because it was just a couple of days away to my admission. And what remained for the next couple of days was just a countdown to the big day. Yay, 6 days to go. And then came the admission day. Wow. Oh, I must tell you that life as a candidate attorney is tough. Preparing for this day was even tougher due to lack of funds. I mean, I wasn't getting paid much as a candidate attorney, and I had to use that money to also support my children. And ideally, I wanted to get myself a black suit and a just crisp white shirt. That was my plan. And so I'd also learned that in terms of the dress code, it's formal court attire, which is black bottom and white shirts or blouse for the ladies. So, but fortunately, I did have something new to wear because I managed to buy long ago. So I wore black formal pants, a white blouse, black boots, which is a closed shoe, and a black coat because it was right smack in the middle of winter and it was a cold day. Our hearing was virtual. It didn't happen in open court due to COVID-19 restrictions. And for this reason, my counsel and I, because my counsel is also as pedantic and a perfectionist as I am, we agreed that we actually meet at her chambers so that the two of us are in one space. So we met at the chambers in the morning and we convened, the hearing from there. So I had to travel from Johannesburg to my counsel's chambers early on the admission day. My family could not attend, obviously, because the chambers are small. If it had been open court, my family would have attended. So we were instructed that we have to log on to Teams, which is a virtual platform, at about 9:45. The registrar addressed the attendees on the proceedings. We were instructed to keep ourselves on mute, switch off the video option. We were also instructed to remain logged in until the end of the roll, even after your matter has been heard. The only parties who may be excused during the proceedings are those whose matters have been heard and admission has not been granted for whatever reason. And the only parties who were live on video all the time were the presiding judges, as well as the counsel who's moving the application at the particular time, or the candidate who has been admitted and has to take the oath would then be on the video with the registrar taking the oath. So in terms of how the proceeding goes, the applicant remains on mute while the counsel moves the application in front of the presiding officers. And the judges then ask questions relating to the application. What I picked up here is that it is very important that your counsel fully understands your background as well as the contents of your application and all the supporting documents in order that he may be able to address whatever queries are raised by the court satisfactorily. Like if you've had disciplinary issues, or like me, if I was a director of these dormant companies. I discussed that fully with my counsel. She understood the background. She also went through my founding affidavit before I issued the application, so that she understands what's going on, and we tweak it and just plead my case as best as we can on paper. Um, Also, some of the queries raised during the court at my hearing, even not just necessarily for me, for others, were surrounding pecuniary interests that were held by candidates during the period of articles of clerkship, disciplinary issues at university, applications for condonation for the period of articles served, because some people would have signed a contract for 2 years but end up serving 1 year. So the presiding officers will ask questions around that, which counsel must be able to address. Once satisfied, the judges requested counsel to present the order. So once they've gone through your matter, they will say, fine, can you present the order? And then after the order is read into the record by the presiding officers. In my case, I'll show you. I got my order last week when I went to collect my certificate. And with regards to the dormant companies, the order reads as follows. It says it is ordered that a declarator that the applicant's involvement in certain dormant companies is not a violation of Rule 22.1.5 of the Rules of the Legal Practice Council. And then obviously the other one says it is ordered that the applicant is admitted as a legal practitioner of this court, and the Legal Practice Council is authorized to enroll the applicant as an attorney in terms of Section 24.2 of the Legal Practice Act 28 of 2014 as amended. So once the order has been read into the record, the candidate is called forth to take the oath. The registrar administers the oath, and the candidate is sworn in by raising their right hand like this and repeating the oath as it is read out. Thereafter, the candidate signs the oath in front of counsel and uploads the oath onto case lines and also emails it a scanned copy to the judge's secretary. At the end of the roll, after all the admissions have been completed, the presiding officers address all the newly admitted legal practitioners and welcome them to the noble profession. We were number 14 on the roll of 20 candidates. Our matter was called at 11:30 sharp. The proceedings that I've just mentioned, um, including me being sworn in, took from 11:30 until 12. I was literally sworn in as an admitted attorney of the High Court. I took the oath at 12 p.m. sharp on the 2nd of June 2022. As instructed, we remained in attendance until the end of the roll, and the presiding officers then welcomed us into the profession. Upon completion of all the formalities, my counsel and I then proceeded to the High Court to commemorate this monumental event with pictures. And a couple of days thereafter, on the 8th of June, the order, which was signed by the judges, was then uploaded onto case lines. And what was left was for me to fetch my admission certificate from the High Court in Johannesburg. And that actually took some time because I only received my certificate on the 2nd of August. But I believe that that is not the norm because there are many other people who got their certificates earlier, and those people were admitted after me. So every time I went to the court, there were certificates from the 9th of June, 16th of June, up until the end of June, but the ones for the 2nd of June were not yet ready. So obviously, there's a reason for that delay, but it's not normal. So I hope you enjoyed this and it's informative. If you have any questions, please post them down on the comment section down below. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm also welcome to answering any questions as you go along with your admission application, and I will help you wherever I can. Again, just post those questions in the comments box down below. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. I will post the next video again in the next week or two. Thank you.